Well, hiya there. Don't be afraid. This is just TWIL. This week I'm learning, the podcast where we dig through our brains and come up with the latest, tastiest morsels of learning we've found through the week and tell all of you fine folks about them. Sound good? Excellent. This is episode 76, recorded January 31st, 2021. Where is this month gone? I'm your host, Brandon Vader, also known as Captain Drac. Down below me, we have Colton Roper, also known as Seeker7461. Next to me, Cody Stratman, also known as Psychonitrous. And down in the corner, we have Tim Rind, also known as Fake Farang. So how's everyone this fine week?
Good.
Good. I'm doing better.
We should get an order thing going here. Otherwise, we have long silence or everybody speaks at once. Yeah.
No, baby.
All
Fly by the seat of the
here.
pants.
Life's good.
Rules are for the weak and the weak-minded. And we are four high-learned gentlemen. Right?
Yes.
Don't all agree at once.
That made it sounded like we're high-learned gentlemen or whatever.
We called a lot of things.
I don't know.
But that's a new one.
Yes. I've never been called that before.
We're learned scholars, damn it.
Yes.
Nah.
Like the Greeks and Romans of old.
Exactly. This is kind of a Socrates, or Jesus Christ, that's not his Socratesian style learning. But someone needs to be a teacher. We're like the students, and what we're learning during the week is Socrates. It's fine. You'll think about it. Just think about it. You'll be fine.
Sure.
I'm not that learned to figure that one out. Sorry.
Words.
All right.
Words are hard.
Well, let's get on with our wonderful show. Cody is going to tell us that he has two new pieces of plastic. Okay.
That is correct.
Maybe two.
Yeah, it's like a jar of sand. And
I got a jar of sand.
Colton is
dirt.
I don't know how to add into
dirt.
this, but Colton is feeling very zombie because brains.
Exactly.
Oh wait.
Aim for the head. There you go. Yeah.
Trigger discipline.
Yeah. Otherwise.
Yeah. We are a gun safety podcast. Yeah. Even fake guns gotta be smart. And Tim is going to talk about how to save your money on AV. Also, how Canon quits, or is quilted, if you will.
Yeah.
It's quitted.
And sorry, my coffee order just arrived.
Ooh.
Ouch. The timing's everything. Brandon's going to say, jump off the bandwagon, or wait, or bands are jumping off the wagon. Jump off the bandwagon. I mean, can't guess this one. All right. I wonder if it has to do with
what kind of
alcohol?
band?
No,
I know what it's about. I just
it's
realized
bands.
what it's about. I know what it's about.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I figured it out. Wrong band. I was thinking different band.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, electromagnetic spectrum. Anyways. I
Who's
assume that's
first?
what it's about.
No.
No, I was wrong? Was I wrong?
You're wrong.
I don't know you people at all.
All right.
Really? Okay.
Really? That would have been a good one. But no. We'll get to it. Cody, tell us about your two pieces of plastic.
So, now it wasn't this week, so I'm sorry. It was last week. Because,
Discussion episode. It's fine.
It's a past Cody problem.
It's a past Cody problem. I have received my Thai driver's license and motorcycle license.
Ooh.
I would show you, but there's way too many pieces of identifying information on them. So you actually get two here, one for each. So I have in front of me two cards, which is in a way annoying because I have to choose which one I keep in my wallet because there's too many cards in my wallet now.
Oh.
So clarifying question. Can you get your motorcycle's license without a car license, or you
That
still
is
have
Yes.
to get
correct. That is correct.
Why did you get a
Okay.
car license?
Because that would let me regale you with the story, the epic drama. So this all started back when, actually, before I moved to Thailand. I went and took a Harley Davidson course in Alaska, which I dropped the bike on that. Yeah. The only no, I mean the whole
The
course.
$20,000 bike.
I mean,
it's
that's
fine.
that's
They
why you
have
ride
it-
Harleys. It's fine.
Yeah, it sticks. The stuff sticks out. Anyway, wound up doing the Harley course, and the whole course, like the training and stuff. I had the problem with like the box curve, where you're supposed to do like the U-turn in the box, and the box curve, and then the part where you're standing still, and then you have to make an immediate right-hand turn. And this is on a 500cc. I forget the name of the bike. It was-
Sportster.
no, I don't think it was a Sportster. I think
Vroom vroom machine.
Yeah, vroom vroom machine. And it was something with 500 in the name. I think it's called a Street 500. Anyway, they've got like little bumpers off to the sides and stuff. So even if you drop the bike, it only like tilts that much. But yeah, during the test, wound up doing that. Not my proudest moment. But it would have been a moot point anyway because I didn't have enough time to do the written test in Alaska, because even if you do the road test now, you can't do the written test. Now, why does that matter for Thailand? So, I moved to Thailand. I then am living at Tim's house for a while. I attempt to get my license while living there. Unfortunately, we have this, event that's happening all around the world, which is kind of mandatory participation. Has something to do with COV. I don't know. Nobody really knows about it. It's definitely.
They really
not
need to
a
get
thing.
Is
this
that the thing?
COVID-19.
Is that the thing that I keep trying to hit X to skip cutscene and it just won't let me skip the cutscene?
No, nobody can skip any cutscenes with this mandatory event. Anyway, so they weren't doing the tests in Thailand because of this. So, okay, whatever. Things. The only rule in Thailand is that, well, there are no rules, and that the rules will change. So, wind up just like, okay, screw it. I'm not gonna deal with it. So, went a few months, moved to Bangkok, and finally I'm at the point where it's like, okay, one of our buddies here, Warren, he does these motorcycle rides and stuff, and he's been like in my ear about this, and like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So, my girlfriend and I, we go down to the Department of Land Transport nearest to my condo, and walk in there like, okay, what information do I need? And I'm like, I've got my my Alaska driver's license, but no motorcycle. And they say, Duan Mesa, which, for those of you who don't speak Thai or can't understand my poor Thai, that means April. And this was at the end of December, when they said that I could come back to, start this process. I'm like, okay. And they're like, do you want to be on the list? Like, nah, I think I'm going to try a different way. So I wound up contacting a bike shop here. And the bike shop basically acts as an agent to help you go through this. So the first part of this is they had me go to a different Department of Land Transport, which I think is probably the main one, out by toward immigration. It's near, for those of you who are familiar with Bangkok, it's near Chatuchak Market. So go in there, 8 o'clock in the morning, and meet somebody from BSR Bike Shop is where I had this done, and get put on a list there. Luckily, they check all of my documents. So the documents that I needed for this was my driver's license, because the driver's license for the car is the easy part. They can just go, okay, we're basically moving this to Thai. The motorcycle part is a little bit more complicated. But I needed the driver's license. I needed a health certificate, which really means that you are alive and have 120 baht to give to a medical clinic. And they take your blood pressure and stuff and go, okay, you're not keeling over. All right, there you go. And then the third, more annoying part of this is I needed what is a proof of residence or certificate of residence.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people, this wouldn't be an issue. If you are working in Thailand and have a work permit, this is less problematic for you. However, I am going to school in Thailand, so I'm not working in Thailand. The methods to get this are either work permit, probably the easiest way. Second easiest way is if you have a Thai landlord, then getting, and this is what I did when I was at Tim's house, basically getting their yellow book and their, I forget the ID part, getting that and signature for you. However, my landlord is not Thai, so it would require a whole nother list of paperwork in order to, 1 second.
Sorry,
Yeah.
he just wants to listen.
Okay. I had to change some of the settings real quick. So, anyway, had to get a whole nother thing. So, in order to get this, I had to go to the U.S. Embassy. And the only thing that I dread more than dealing with Thai bureaucracy is dealing with U.S. bureaucracy. So I got to go to the U.S. Embassy here, in which they do not let you take your cell phone in the building. You have to leave that in a cubby. Oh yeah, they like
same thing at Canadian Embassy as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go through security a couple times.
Yeah. So first of all, I had to sign up with an appointment. So I got one of the last ones available in December. Otherwise, I was going to have to wait a month to do that. So then I go in, and I basically have this form that I printed out beforehand, and I say where I'm living, and they go and they notarize this form. That goes, okay, I guess you are living there. They have no way of proving that, but that's good enough. And then I give them $50 for the glory. Oh, yeah.
It's only 20 Canadian for us.
Yep. I've heard over and over that the U.S. one is one of the worst as far as expense. Of course it is. Glorious USA. Anyway, so...
Dollar bills.
Get out of there. So I've got all this stuff. Let's fast forward to where I'm at there. Fill out the information. They check all of my forms. I've got like copies of my ID. The agent, the BSR bike shop, they know how many copies of my stuff they need. Luckily, the DLT has a copy center, so you can, if you need copies done, you can have it done there. No problem. So get that done. I choose, I think it's 6 days later that I then can go back for the actual doing the stuff. So go back 6 days later, come back to the building. I've got an appointment at 11 o'clock, meet the somebody else who worked at the bike shop, meet her, and then there's another guy with me that's also doing the same thing. So we go into the bike shop, we stand in line at one place, we get a number, we go upstairs, we stand in line at another place, queue there, and then we go to another part on the same building, on the other side of the building, queue there. Luckily, each of these queues is like 5 minutes long, so not a big deal. Then you go into a room where they're showing you a video of 3 things that they're going to test you and do. But it's actually 4, but they weren't doing some of them because of, this worldwide event that we've all enrolled in. So the things that they want you to do is they have a little, like a light, like 3 lights, and you have to tell them what color the light is. So I get up there and I'm like, oh man, I know Thai, so I'm gonna say it in Thai because I'm such a badass. Well, I do that, and it turns out that when the little girl that was running it, so I think there's like some mother and then the little girl that was actually operating the machine was like, no, this for it, no, So she speeds the machine up on me, and I get flustered in my Thai. I'm like, I'm like, dang, kio, luang, dio, and See, I already got flustered doing it. And I had to switch to English midway through. Luckily, the mother was just laughing at this point. Like, okay. So, go through that. Next station is they have... So I did this the second time around, and I'll explain. And it's 2 pins, and you have
I hate
to...
that one.
You have to line the pins up. I think this is easier if you play a lot of video games.
It depends how you're seated in the position too, in the seat.
Yeah, because you
and
have
it's
to...
not very bright.
Yeah, and it's 2 pins in this black box, and the pins are white, and you have to line them up within an inch. And you've got a remote control with a red light, which pushes it back, and a green or a red button and a green button.
It's terrible.
And you do that until the pins are lined. Luckily, you have a few tries.
I would fail.
Yeah, I failed the first time.
You have a few times of doing this. They're not super strict about this.
Yeah.
The next station is actually the one I failed the first time, and this is where you press this gas pedal. They have a gas pedal and a brake pedal, and you press the gas pedal, and you're looking in front of you, and there's a green light. So you press it, and the light's green, and then the light will suddenly turn red, and you got to switch over to the brake pedal. Well, I'm kind of tired, and I'm like, okay, fine. And I didn't switch over fast enough, so I had to re-queue and do that again, which was another minute and a half.
So is that just testing, like, reaction time?
Yep,
Yeah.
reaction reflex, basically, to make sure you're not,
Actually, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
the
that's
more I
what
think
my
about
mom
that.
said when
It
I
actually
described
makes,
it.
At first,
So-
I was kind of like, that's a bit silly. I'm like, wait, actually, in a real-world situation, that makes a lot of sense. And arguably, there's a lot of people who probably shouldn't be driving who don't have the reaction speed.
And do you know what the average reaction of somebody in their 20s is to recognizing a hazard and applying force to the brake? 1.5 seconds.
Oh, geez. And so this is
that's why speed is
0.75. This
Yeah.
is you have to switch to the brake and brake within 0.75
Wow.
seconds.
Yeah.
So they want you to be double the faster than the 20-year-old.
Yeah, well,
Quick.
that's to recognize, a hazard. So with a light, it's a little bit different.
True.
But to recognize something is an incident where you have to apply the brake, and that's a factor we use along with the speed. Sorry, digress, but I used to do traffic accident reconstruction. That's the standard that we use in determining whether somebody's reasonable or not. But anyways, please continue with your licensing.
Quick housekeeping thing. You have it set to not show non-video participants, right?
I changed that about 10 seconds after he entered.
Okay, just making sure. Sorry.
We have a
For
listener,
a live lurker.
a live lurker.
Doesn't want to see the VOD. He wants it fresh from the source, baby.
Yep. You can have that too with a special subscription. Anyway,
If anyone's interested, we could stream it on Twitch one time. That might be interesting. If we get a big enough fan base, make comments down below. Please do.
You know,
You
I
can
would
see
say,
how the butter's made.
How about for our 100th episode?
all right.
Just
All right.
let's just
Cool.
do it for our 100th.
That'd be fun. Just stream it. I like that.
Okay, well, you
Make a
write
note.
that. I will.
I'm
continue
writing that.
regaling. So now, this is another thing that we didn't do because of our, universal enrollment in the event, the unskippable cutscene. Is they showed in the video how you would put your face in this thing, and then you would look straight ahead, and apparently there's lights, and you'd have to tell them, which side and which color the lights are. But because you have to put your face in this, I imagine that is the reason you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so after this, you go... Oh, I forgot. So before the light thing, you go to... I think it was the second floor, so I think the light things are on the third floor. You go to the second floor, and then you meet with somebody who checks your paperwork before this. So, sorry, I'm getting things a little bit out of order. But anyway, after you do this segment, you go up to the fourth floor, and you sit in a theater, and you watch a movie. that's about an hour long, and there's different segments of this movie. The first part is where they play, like, what is that? Like the famous song from Walk to Remember or something, and you get to watch motorcycle accidents and car accidents and people dying.
That's old school. Holy shit.
That's yeah.
It's something like that, but you watched a lot of footage of like fatal accidents, and you're like, okay,
Wow.
some of them are just
again.
cut
That's
from...
not a bad idea on some level. I mean,
the funny thing is, some of them are specifically cut from movies, from Hollywood movies, and put on there though. So it's like I had a hard time not laughing.
Oh my god!
And this
hilarious.
is like,
and people probably just people at that point, as you're laughing at these car accidents, are probably like, "This white
fuck
guy
is this American?
Fucked up."
This fucking Farang, man.
After that, you watch. There's like a segment of the video that is only in Thai audio with no subtitles, where they're. Sorry, it's been too long, so I don't remember what it was because I was catching bits of it and like, okay, this is not really that important. And then there's a segment of the video where it's Thai again, and no English subtitles, and they have like. It's like a cartoon diagram thing where they have a yellow car and the yellow car is following traffic, and the yellow car does something wrong and they'll put an X or whatever, and you get the point. The weirdest thing that I learned from that is if it is raining or foggy, you're supposed to turn on your hazards according to like Thai road rules. Yeah, that was my reaction. I was like, did I hear that right? Like, when I was, yeah. Anyway, they tell you. And they use the word, I thought was interesting during this, they use the word for polite a lot. The Thai word for polite. So there's, like, some things that may not necessarily be rules, but are like, you know, if you're doing a U-turn, like, who should let who through first? And it turns out it's like, you know, if you saw the diagram of the Intel, like, hyper-threading back in the early 2000s, where they would have these, like, blue balls, and, like, one gray ball goes through, one blue ball goes through, one gray ball, you know, that's the way you're supposed to do it, apparently. That's not the way it usually happens here. Yeah. Tim's reaction right there. So then you watch another part of the video, and this is the longest part. They have very fuzzy English subtitles on this part because the video is probably 480p, and they're doing it's kind of interesting because so the audio is in Thai, and they're doing a like lady going, you know, a young lady starting out going, basically taking a drive from one place to another. And then, you know, she's like going, yes, I can drive my car. You know, I am skilled at driving my car. And then another guy, like, comes along with her who's, like, over the top, like, silly, but silly serious. It's like, oh like no, you forgot to do this. Yes, it's like a live action anime where it's like, you forgot to do this. Like, are you sure you're ready to go? You know, and, like, stuff like this, and it's just again,
she is making a left turn. She is going to take her hands and make a left motion with the wheel.
And
it is a very powerful move that has only been done hasn't been done for 1,000 years.
Not quite that bad, but what was interesting was a lot of like, you know, we can do this together. We can, like, have road safety together. It was a lot of, like, that type of language. It was intriguing to me to see, like, the cultural differences with this versus, like, you know, US driving videos where it's like, you go here, you do this is for you. Where it's like, we can all do this. Anyway. So it showed, like, you know, passing, you know, people speeding and how not to, stuff like that. And you're like, okay, this is intriguing. And then they have, at the end of the video, they have another 5 minutes of music from A Walk to Remember and people crashing and dying that are, like, 50% from Hollywood blockbuster movies, or TV shows or whatever. And so after this part, you then go back to the second floor where they checked your paperwork before, and you sit in the booth, and they'll ask you to remove your mask, and then you sit like this, and they'll take your picture. And then they'll print out your card right there. So after doing that, I immediately had my driver's license, because that's, I already had a driver's license in another country, so no problem. Okay, so now I basically, everything I just did this day, I had to do again. So I had to go back to the other floor, go through the series of things where I called out the lights and stuff, because now I am doing it for my motorcycle. So go through. So this is the time where I actually measured the pins, because the first time they apparently either didn't have the machine working, or I don't know. Don't ask me why. Had to do this time. I did not fail the stop go thing. I was like, Arrgh! And I nailed it, because I didn't want to go through that again. So then
I can see you doing exactly that and scaring the poor operator of that station. You going ah, and then being like.
Yeah.
Isn't this the crazy guy from yesterday?
Okay, pass. You pass.
Get him out of my fucking mind.
So after this, now I did not have to watch the movie again, thankfully. I'm glad that they don't make you do that twice. But I go up to, I believe, the 5th floor at this point. So I visited all the floors 1 through 5 at this point. So go to the 5th floor, and then I have to store my backpack, because I have my backpack there. And then I sit in front of a computer. And the computer is... the first few prompts are not necessarily in English, but they've got a little password. And I put the password into the computer, and I am now taking the written test, basically.
Oh.
So it is...
I practiced for that test, and it doesn't really make sense, but you gotta pass... You gotta study for the test they give you, so yeah.
Especially if you are from the U.S., because there is a series of signs that are international signs that we do not have in the U.S., and they are the blue signs with the white background, which are the mandatory go this way signs. We do not have those series of signs in the U.S. If we do, I have not seen them in any of the states that I've been to. So definitely make sure you practice for those. Otherwise... I don't know. My experience was it wasn't too bad. So it's 50 questions, and to pass you have to get a 45 out of 50. And you can do it 2 times that first day. And if you fail, you can come back each day up to 90 days afterwards. First time, I got a 44 out of 50. Now, here's the cool thing. And anybody who fails this, don't feel bad, because a lot of the ones I got wrong I didn't read carefully enough, and they had negatives, which one of these is not correct type things, and I was like, oh, this is the most correct out of that, and that's my bad. Anyway, and there's a weird sign for the bridge, and there's some of the questions that are slightly ambiguous, and that are you should choose the most correct out of the pictures. So be aware of that if anybody is doing that. Now, the cool thing is once you've done the test, before you just start it again, you can see what questions you got wrong and the correct answers to those, which is very different from the Alaska test, and I don't remember the Colorado one.
The Colorado one doesn't let you review.
Yeah. So you just know you failed in the Colorado one or the Alaska
they're not.
one.
It's not a learning. Not a learning situation. You're like, nope, fuck you. Go study.
The Thai one, you can go through each one and see the answer, the question, the answer you selected, and the correct answer, or it might be inverse of that. But you can see that, so you can go, oh, okay, this is what they were looking for on this. And that helps me out.
I don't know if you know this, but there is a test. That test is online as well, and it will show you the wrong, what you did wrong or right.
when I tried to find it, I found an international version of this, but the link was broken to the specific Taiwan.
Okay.
I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Clarifying question. So 45 questions, and it's not like a rotating pool where there's
It is
like...
a rotating pool.
Okay.
But the pool, I think, is pretty shallow. I think
Uses,
the pool might be like 80 questions deep. So I got a lot of the same questions my second go-around that I got my first go-around. So there were some weird ambiguous ones where it's like, or like, you know, they had a couple of the weird insurance ones that I accidentally got right on the fines, like how much it is for the fine if you don't pay your, you know, fee in Thailand. And it's like, okay.
What is the fee for not paying your fee, sucker?
It's 1% each month, by the way.
That makes sense, actually. Okay.
Anyway, so the second go around I get is either, I think it's 48 out of 50, so I passed the second go around. Unfortunately, the gentleman that was with me failed both times, but I nothing against him. Like, I can see how that would happen. I think my second go around I got a little bit luckier on the pool of questions that were, again, there were a bunch of them that I got my first go around, so I knew which answers were correct based off of that. So then you go out of the big building, walk across the parking lot, and this is my question. I'm like, okay, so because, you know, the lady from the bike shop was there with me, so am I renting a bike from you? I'm like, no. They have bikes to rent for 50 baht, and you get the bike and helmet for the road course. Now, this is Thailand, so I'm sure that there are a lot of people that show up on their own bikes, and there aren't really too many questions asked about how that happened and the legality of that. But, yeah, I've heard of this from other places. I don't know for sure on that one. So then the road course, you watch a video, and they show you what you're doing for the road course. Road course consists of 3 things. Interestingly enough, one of those things we didn't have in the Harley course. Actually...
Wheelie?
That would be funny.
Fire jump?
The first...
Riding with the passenger.
No, luckily, no. The first part is, and this is the part that you don't have in the US, you have to ride on this thing that's about this wide, so I'd say about a foot wide, and about 30 to 40 feet long. And it's raised up about that high. So you have to ride on that without putting your foot down, without falling off, and so do that. No problem. Just, you know, look up. Don't look, you know, you're used to riding a bike.
Do they start you like on it, or you approach it and then
you approach it and then do it?
Okay,
yeah, that would suck if
that's
you
a good
had
one.
To start on it, yeah, because then you're slightly off balance. So, and if you've ever ridden a bike, you know, in Hua Hin and had to park at Market Village downstairs, you know what I'm talking about, Tim.
Yeah,
you can pass this no problem. No problem.
Try to do that on the 350.
yeah, where your clearances are just... I might have a picture somewhere for this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you go through that. Then they've got... And you just continue. So you've got this S-curve. Now, the S-curve, like in the US, is with cones, and you have to do this. In Thailand, they've got a... I don't know, it's probably about... It's not like with my arms stretched out, but it's probably like shoulder width. And it's like a paved track with berms that you have to stay within and do that through. I'll do that, no problem. And then after that, they have a like fake several streets that you have to go through. And what you have to do is start this and then follow the signs. So they'll have like a grid of streets, which is probably the only grid of streets in Thailand that's actually a grid of streets, which is the funny part. And then you basically follow the stop sign, stop, and then they'll have like do not enter, or they'll have the mandatory go this way sign. So as long as there's only one path through it if you follow the signs correctly. So follow the signs correctly. And I'm like nervous about this because I'm like, okay, what is the stipulation about how when I end, like where I park my bike specifically, like, you know, because they don't tell you about this, and there's there's some guy watching you that's got like more medals than an army general, and fully garbed up, and it's like, and I'm like way more stressed than this guy is.
You did it on Monday, I guess.
No, I did it on a Thursday.
Oh, okay.
But
because usually teachers, for example, have to wear their uniform on Mondays. That's why I asked that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
continue.
But guy was actually super friendly. So, like, honestly, all the proctors that I dealt with, super friendly, super easygoing. Like, when you're doing a road test in the U.S., like there's a air of stress about the entire situation, and the proctors are never friendly. They're always like angry, upset, have a lazy eye, or like like
with their clipboard.
Yeah. They are serious and pissed off. Anyway, this was none of that. This was like calm, like, oh, it's not like it's all okay, but it's like two proctors were joking between them while the test was going on. Test stopped, and then the lady that I was with was like, okay, cool, we'll go back up to the second floor of the building, you re-queue at this place, and then you get your motorcycle license. Wow. And that's how I did it. Sorry,
my question is, did you have a motorcycle license in the U.S.?
No. So I only had a car license in the U.S., so I was able, and that's why I had to take the test, the written and the practical for the motorbike, but not for the car.
Okay.
Is because I already, yeah, honestly, this was all of the paperwork leading up to it was the annoying part. The actual going through this, and it took about 5 hours for all of this.
And that gives you your first license in Thailand is a 2-year license.
Correct. So you get 2 years. I believe you can renew it up to having 6 months until it expires, and then you get and you don't have to go through. You have to go through like hit the brake pedal and the gas pedal. You have to go through the
medical
the
reports.
Yeah, but you don't have to watch the video again. You don't have to do a test again.
I really like
5 years
how that works. I like that they still license. Sort of test you. Like, you got to make sure you're still okay to drive, because a lot of shit can happen in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. Like here in Arizona, you get a license at 16, and then you don't have to get a new one for like 50 years. Literally 50 years, which is silly to me.
Yeah. But the unfortunate thing is there's ways around almost any rule here in this country. You pay the right agents, and then they pay.
Oh yeah, but it's still a lot of people are going to just like it's a 20-minute test, maybe not even, and more of it's just waiting in line. Okay, I'm going to pass that easy, and then obviously any rule people are going to go around, but I like that rule. I still like it. Yeah. Good safe rule.
Well, now that I've regaled you with my story of my pieces of plastic, Colton, are you gonna tell us if we should run from you, or
not for
from
me?
Someone,
maybe something.
Brains. Something.
Brains. All right, let me log in because it kicked me out. All right. I love it. So. I know. We are professionals after 76 episodes now.
Talking about professionals, I had to reboot my computer just before we started. Yeah. Save your notes. Before.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Yeah, so. Yeah, I lost my notes.
Oh, no.
So,
all right, we did get Tim a tab in our OneNote. So it stays there. We'll get you set up, Tim. So we'll show you how to do it. Because these notes I actually took 2 weeks ago. So you guys have all heard of the game Pong, right? I mean, that's a dumb question. Everyone fucking knows what the game Pong is. I mean, it's basically gaming royalty at this point. Boop. Mm-hmm. Boop. Yeah, whatever. Top-down virtual tennis-like game that is so simple it can essentially be played on a basic calculator. And a quick side note of that, I know it's super early of that, but have you guys ever seen the video of Doom being played on a TI-84 graphing calculator?
I played Doom on a TI-84 graphing calculator.
Yeah, I remember I was doing my research and I'm like, oh, I found this cool video. That's freaking cool. Playing a 20 or 30-year-old game at this point on a fucking graphic calculator. What an age we live in. Which is pretty cool. But back to what I was actually saying before I gave my own off the rails thing. Since Pong is such a basic and simple game, it is actually a very good game to train an artificial intelligence on. And one version of AI that can be trained to play Pong is actually called a neural network. Now, a neural network is an assortment of algorithms that are modeled specifically on the human brain. More specifically, again, is how a human brain thinks, or at least how we think a brain thinks. Now, how a neural network differs from a traditional program is that a traditional program takes inputs, runs them through a set of pre-written rules to get an output, while a neural network will take these inputs to get an output, but be able to change the algorithms in order to get the outputs faster, to get a different output, to find it in a better way. It's more malleable as a program versus a traditional program. So basically, it kind of means you can teach a neural network to be better at what it is designed to do. This makes neural networks very good at finding patterns from large swaths of data, versus like normal algorithms where you have to sorting algorithms. There's actually a big argument about what the best type of sorting algorithm is, and there's like 10 different ones, and it's very systematic how it does it. And compared to how a human would look at a set of data, we can see patterns and quickly be able to reorganize from smallest to largest or whatever. It's very different. The way we think is very different from how a program works, how a computer would be able to solve the problem. That's kind of what a neural network is trying to follow, is be able to find patterns instead of just having a set systematic way of solving something. So things like voice-to-text, smart assistants all use neural networks, and even the programs that we're using in this podcast, which is XSplit and NVIDIA Broadcast, use these networks in order to, say, remove or replace the background, like we have here. I have a blurring algorithm in mind right now. I also have an algorithm that will get rid of background noise, so it kind of cleans up the audio without me having to actually do anything to it. Pretty cool shit, honestly. And yeah, it's very good. Keep our faces clear and so on, but whatever. So in my research of this topic, because I was just going to talk about neural networks, because I've been finding them interesting, watching a lot of YouTube videos, shit like that. I actually found out about a tech startup named Cortical Labs. And these fucking mad lads work in the field of biotechnology. And apparently, they managed to teach human brain cells to play Pong. Outright real human brain cells, not harvested. Like these are grown human brain cells. Yeah, but they are real human brain cells. They took somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 to 1 million of these living brain cells. They place it on a microelectrode array that is designed to analyze neural activity and make it play a version of Pong with 0 opponents. So basically, it's very simple. The ball will come over, and the human brain cells will move the paddle based on where the ball is. And they did not program it to do that. It learned how to do that. They taught it how to do that shit.
But does it feel joy while it does that?
Oh, there's definitely some weird ethical things in here. It's fascinating.
Does it get bored after a while?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's fascinating, this whole thing. It's a very much a rabbit hole.
Really bizarre.
Yeah. So just to clarify a little bit, a signal is sent to either the right or the left side of the ray based on the position of the ball, and then the brain cells figure out where the paddle needs to be in relation to the ball, which is pretty fascinating stuff with only the minor feeling of disconcertment as the brain cells are grown and not harvested. So, yeah, we don't have to worry. It's not like they took a real person and be like, hey, I need like 800,000 brain cells, and we're gonna make it play fucking Pong.
You don't need that memory of Sally's.
Exactly.
Of Sally's birthday party.
So you guys kind of made the joke about does this thing feel pain? and whatever. So something I found that was interesting, it's a pattern that I figured out with my own neural network. It seems that people who work in neural networks and this biotechnology, they refer to their creations as they. And I don't think they're doing it on purpose. I think it's an accident. Like, it's very, very it's very creepy. So I'll end with a quote from Brett Kagan, who's the chief scientific officer at this Cortical Labs, where he states in reference to his Pong creation, "We often refer to them as living in the Matrix. When they are in the game, they believe they are the paddle." Right?
That's
And this is
just
that
a
isn't the
little
only
creepy.
and that's not the only fucking time I found a scientist of this nature in any neural network where they refer to the creation as they, them, as if it's living. It's utterly fascinating, and there's probably some weird psychological shit on the backside of it, but that's really the thing I found most interesting in all of this.
You can just imagine. I bet you they have some hidden. These scientists have some hidden desires of.
There's some God complex shit in there.
A lot further with this.
There is some laws that are preventing some really
like
fucked
that.
up shit. And this is just the stuff that's available. I'm sure there's some secret stuff out there that. I mean, you got like we've talked about cybernetic enhancements and stuff like that. I mean, you got Elon Musk who's doing that Neuralink thing, which is causing a lot of interesting problems from a morality standpoint, is what people are saying. It's very interesting and just all fascinating, but something to think about.
If we add this with like some of the more obscure Japanese love technology,
that's
I'm
what I
just gonna
was
leave
just
that
thinking.
there. Yeah.
Why? Why did you?
Maybe
have to
you
bring
guys.
light
Maybe you
to
guys are
that?
the problem here. Jeez, you're the one making it weird. This is just real living tissue that's just playing Pong. Why are you guys making it weird? But that's my whole thing. So not a whole lot.
Speaking of weird,
Utterly
good
fascinating. But I think we'll swing it over to Tim. Tell us about save some money on our AV equipment, please.
Oh, it's not going to save you any money. It's
Damn it.
It's more a news thing, which I don't have a lot of details dropping my notes, but evidently Canon is going to be dropping production of DSLRs and sticking
Really?
just with mirrorless cameras. So
Okay.
I was looking at Tony Northrup's site, channel as well. He's one of the sources, and so if you got a whole bunch of DSLR lenses, you might want to start buying camera bodies because they're one of the reasons this has been sort of accelerated is also the availability of chips. So they're putting all their chips into mirrorless cameras, which are the biggest. But for like he says, for right now, even the best value for wildlife and sports photography is still in your DSLR cameras, and you get the best bang for your buck in those two categories using a DSLR camera. So that's my quick on that one. But I'll move on to the next topic. Now this may be old school. This may be me, but whenever I bought a computer, I always first thing I did was well, usually you get a trial period of some software on there, McAfee or Symantec or something like that for antivirus. So you'd usually go with that to the trial period, and after the trial period, you'd download AVG or Antivir or something like that for your antivirus, because the news was always that Microsoft or Windows Defender just wasn't a good enough protection, so you had to use an aftermarket antivirus. So at least this is for the home user. Now commercial or business, they may have different needs, but for the home user, you wouldn't stick with Microsoft Defender. You would either you'd buy your antivirus or you'd use one of the free versions. Well, AV Test, which is I think it's a German setup, but they're the ones that are basically do all the standardized testing on antivirus programs. And their recent testing, I believe it was in December, they tested Microsoft Defender along with a lot of the other antivirus programs. And their scoring system is I think it's 6 categories, and the top score is 6. Microsoft Defender scored 6 in all those categories. So it's been improved enough now that you really do not have to install an aftermarket antivirus. Now those other antivirus programs are still very good. Many of them also scored 6 out of 6. But I think that's to me that's good news, because I don't like having all these other antiviruses that keep me wanting to sell me other products. If I can just stick with Microsoft on a Microsoft operating system, and if they're consistently scoring 6 out of 6 in these categories, I mean I can show you the other ones if you have any requests on whether your favorite how it scored. But most of them scored 6 out of 6.
We can just put a link
Defender.
in the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm curious about Bitdefender. That was the one I used to recommend to people when I was.
It didn't score 6 out of 6 in all categories. Okay, going down performance. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to refer you to the whole chart. It's
Okay.
very detailed,
Post it
and it has subcharts
Yeah.
for the review of each one. So I think that's the best way.
I think all of us here use different antiviruses, honestly, as our main one.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see who picked the right one.
And honestly,
But
I haven't used
good.
one in probably 3 years or so.
Yep.
And the reasoning for that is there's a certain point where you kind of the way you use your computer becomes your own antivirus. It also depends on most of it is your behavior on your computer. And whether or not that's risky. I remember back in the day, God, when I say that, that's 2007, there was this office that we constantly dealt with when I worked for an internet service provider, and because this guy was the friend of the owner, we had to also support their internal computers. Well, these ladies loved these Facebook games and loved clicking on every single thing that was like, oh, get this now! Basically, any banner ad, and this is what I tell people, is if something is really trying hard to make you click on it on an emotional level, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Don't do that.
Please refer to our cybersecurity discussion in like episode fucking 15 or way back in the day.
But
same rules apply. They apply whether you have an antivirus or not.
Yeah. For those people, we had to get an antivirus on their computer, and it dramatically made my life easier. But recently, things have gotten better innately in Windows, but it's still a lot of it is your own activity, whether or not you need one.
Bitdefender scored more poorly on it's slowing down for performance.
I could see that.
Protection was only 99.4 versus some of the other ones that were at 100.
Still an A.
So, but
condoms are only 99.9% effective. So come on now.
It's a pretty detailed test and chart. But for me, that's good news. I had to reinstall my operating system, and in doing that, I got another free year of McAfee. So I'll just keep on running that one until it goes. But after that goes, I'm just going to switch back to Microsoft Defender.
No, it's interesting that you bring that up. So aside from my 40-hour-a-week job, I also do IT consulting, and one of my clients, long-time clients, just got a new laptop, and she was asking me, she's like, okay, so can I transfer my Avast license onto this from the old one? And this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, well, look, you're on Windows 10 now. You're on a newer machine. You haven't had any of that risky behavior that we have worked, over the course of our 10-year-long client relationship. It's like you've stopped clicking on random links. If you see something that scares you, you usually call me up and send me a picture like, hey, this doesn't look right. Oh, that's a pop-up ad trying to get you to, buy this, that, or the other thing. Don't click the X and get out of it. It's like, don't worry about it. You only had a month left on your Avast license anyway. Don't upgrade it. Don't get a new one. As a matter of fact, this new machine comes with McAfee. It is going to slow your machine down. Let's get rid of that. Run the Windows Defender on it, and you will be super happy. Yeah. And she's been running like that for about a month now, and absolutely loves it.
And for people who don't know, that includes malware as well, malware protection as well.
Oh yeah,
it's not just antivirus. Yeah,
it's kind of funny because like antivirus programs are technically a malware program, and so if you think about it, in some ways, if it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. They are the way they.
And because of that, because of how they work, a lot of them will slow your computer down just a little bit. So it's. I agree with you on the Windows Defender thing. It makes sense that Microsoft should put money into cybersecurity, considering they own the world and going to own all the games and everything. So it just makes sense. On a separate note that is related, did you guys hear about what Norton, another antivirus program, which is considered bloatware on a lot of in the tech community? You hear what Norton has been doing?
Yeah, using spare clock cycles to mine crypto.
Cryptocurrency.
Oh.
Speaking of slowing down your computer, but it's utterly fascinating.
It's idle right now. We'll just use just a few clock cycles.
Unbelievable.
This is why we get the jokes about your thermostat mining crypto.
It's gonna happen.
IoT.
Just a random side.
Internet of trash.
Side note. I threw a tweet about it on the Tech Pirate. It was interesting.
Nice.
So I'm sorry my segments are very, very short.
It's all right.
It's probably a good thing today.
Too long. Yeah. I didn't realize how long that was going to be. So no worries, Tim.
I didn't use all my brain cells.
Maybe they're being harvested.
We have basic rules, but we don't enforce them either. It's all good.
I got to do an intro. Sorry.
Fuck! Brandon, say something.
Okay.
Talk, motherfucker. Talk.
Jump off. Talk about the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Excellent segue. Go.
So, Colton, I know what you were talking about earlier. You were talking about the probably 5G bandwidth.
Yep.
Nope, not talking about that. So, although I live and work underground, this week in particular, I seem to have been living under a rock. I've been off for the last 5 days, so I've been avoiding social media sites. I've been avoiding email, work stuff, like everything. I've not quite digital cleanse, but I've been ignoring my phone as much as possible. Good. And so today when I resurface, what do I see everywhere? Hashtag buy Spotify, hashtag cancel Spotify.
Yeah. I don't even know what this is about either.
God, the world is so fucked. We live in a fascinating world. Worst timeline. Darkest timeline.
Absolutely. Darkest timeline. Thank you, Wendell from Level 1 Techs. Darkest timeline.
God damn it.
So Lifehacker, CNET, 9to5Mac all have articles showing you how to cancel your Spotify premium subscriptions and delete your account. I was so out of the loop, I had to look up to see what happened and why seemingly everyone all of a sudden on social media wants to get rid of Spotify. Well, it turns out...
I'm out of this loop as well.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah. So it turns out that Joe Rogan's podcast did an episode with Dr. Robert Malone.
Oh, the controversial... Sorry. It's more than
two episodes
one podcast that had to be taken off because of controversy. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're talking about the most important one. Yes.
Yeah, Joe Rogan was like the big one that kept coming up over and over. So this Dr. Robert Maloney is the controversial infectious disease specialist who's been banned from Twitter for spreading COVID-19 misinformation, and he's kind of the hero of the anti-vax segment of the population. I'll be honest, I don't listen to Rogan. Never have, probably won't. Not really my cup of tea. I also don't listen to Howard Stern. My understanding is they're both kind of that shock jock style entertainment camp where it's more
marketplace of ideas.
Yeah,
because the idea.
There's some of the stuff that's actually pretty interesting from Rogan, but I don't regularly listen to him. One of my coworkers did, and it's like, okay, there were a few, and it depends on his guest.
Yeah,
depending on how interesting it is.
Well, and that's the same. Like, I've seen snippets from Howard Stern too, and I've seen snippets from Joe Rogan, and yeah, the little 3-minute segments, sometimes they're kind of cool, sometimes it's like, man, I'm gonna keep scrolling down. But yeah, they're not the kind of entertainment that I normally partake in. So well, I agree that these large platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube, should be monitoring content for misinformation and take actions to mitigate it. I understand the difficulty of that ask. And YouTube has gotten better since the start of this global situation, putting disclaimers underneath videos that talk about it and guide people to the CDC's website for further information. Twitter and Facebook have made similar changes. Spotify hadn't. And at least hasn't as of yet. But there hasn't really been much of a need until now. Spotify is a platform that started out as a music service. You go there to play music and songs. In 2018, that's when Spotify started their podcast streaming service. So just a little over 3 years ago. So well, they've had a lot of stuff to deal with inside of that 3 years. They're still learning from that 3 years. So I kind of understand that they haven't had to deal with this level of disinformation like other platforms have. I'm also not saying this is an excuse, but it does kind of put things into perspective. They have said that they'll add an advisory, much like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube currently have. But here's where I get fuzzy on the whole situation. Why are we wanting to cancel Spotify? Because of drama between a podcast creator and a couple of music creators? So Neil Young and
actually,
Joni Mitchell.
That number is growing.
I think it's a bit more complicated than that, because it's pretty. Because I think, I could be wrong here, but from what I understand, I think the Joe Rogan Experience, which is his podcast, I think that is a purely Spotify podcast exclusively. So I could be wrong. Like they help produce it.
They paid him $100 million.
They gave him a shitload of money. So there is some financial things going on here too. At least it seems like it. It seems it.
Right. And so I remember the Joe Rogan podcast used to be available on other platforms. And Spotify, that was one of their big investments. They saw, hey, this guy's really popular amongst all these platforms. If we make his podcast only available on Spotify, we pay him money for production, we pay him money to be proprietary to Spotify, that's going to draw interest into the Spotify podcast platform. So, well, yes, they do have some financial backing there, and they should maybe have a little bit more nuanced oversight. It's still his show that predates Spotify. So
once you start paying for your platform, then you're endorsing it.
Yeah, and that's part of the issue.
That's your voice.
Like, from a public perspective, at least this is why people are against it. It's because of the fact that he has millions of listeners. If you're giving misinformation to that many people, and Joe Rogan necessarily has some issues with COVID as well, including vaccines. As if you follow him, he's very interesting takes on it. That's the problem. It's not so much that he's saying it. It's just like anything else. If you have millions of people who listen to it and take it to heart,
11 million daily listeners.
Yeah, which is, and again, you're talking in terms of money. That's a shitload of money for Spotify, and then his ads. And I'm not saying it's right because we could go back to our canceled episode because this is kind of the same concept.
Yeah, and this is
Spotify isn't they have from, and actually I think I read this morning. I think they are going to put a disclaimer saying, which
but
I mean,
who
I guess is fine.
Looks at that disclaimer and is like, this
right,
is
and that's
whole new information to me. I must like nobody.
Well, but here's the thing:
bureaucratic nonsense.
No, it's a half-ass. It's an interesting problem that all of these platforms have. It's all about at what point does, if it's outright wrong and hurting to society.
We need education to solve this. We don't need the platforms to solve this. We need
But the problem is
a class in school, like in in high school that's like.
But the problem is right now it's a problem. It's not, that will take years. I agree.
But it's the wrong solution. It's like,
then you can't just let it come out. You can't just let.
You can't.
But you're solving the problem in the wrong way. So and it's like
right.
Saying,
but your idea doesn't solve the problem right now. The problem is it's right now. Long term, I agree.
Neither does this. Like it's.
And that's partly why people are saying. So here's what people are thinking. You stop supporting this company.
If
you hurt them financially. So that's the whole thing. I mean, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
To cancel Spotify.
I'm more for that than I am. The disclaimer is.
Well, they have to do something because they. It
was
they have to do
professionals
something.
were also protesting.
Like hundreds of doctors are like, okay, this is getting ridiculous.
Well, but here's the thing: the doctors, they basically made the big petition, going, "Hey, you guys need to put disclaimers on this. You need to make sure good information is available. You need to highlight the good information." I fully agree with the doctors' point of views. It's everyone else that is like the musicians that are like.
I mean, they have the right to pull their music. They have the right.
They do.
I mean,
but
if
here's my thing, Spotify is a platform that solved a very big financial issue.
But maybe they're focusing on the wrong. They should focus on music. True. They should keep on focusing on music and not get into these.
But podcasts, and this goes into the financial thing. They make. I mean, again, it's if you're talking Neil Young and I think Joni Mitchell, who are not nobodies in the music interest. They have significant followings.
And there's
and Spotify.
Niels Lofgren is another one.
Yeah, so these are not nobodies.
Brené Brown.
No.
It's more fascinating that the amount of revenue that the Joe Rogan Experience generates for Spotify it exceeds all these other major artists. So in terms of why would they, from a financial perspective, why would they go back to music when the podcast is obviously, I mean, shit, we're on Spotify. Not that we're making Spotify any money, and I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's Joe Rogan, and then TWIL,
if all three of our listeners were like, cancel TWIL, I'm sure they'd be like, well, I mean, the people have spoken. But it's fascinating from a cancellation perspective. I mean, people are going to do what they want to do.
Yep.
Spotify's in a bad place because they have all this money, and if they're not in the business of controlling the public narrative, kind of like arguably all these other platforms, but it's a gray area that, again, there's no easy solution, and there's really no easy solution. And honestly, if Cody is right, in the long term, that is the right thing to do. People are dying now. I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
And here's
well, what's the difference now between spouting false information that could lead to people not taking protection, not getting protection and dying, etc., And what's the difference now? Why can't we have hate speech? Racist speech.
Right.
So you do have to moderate this stuff. And if you have a committee of medical people or whatever, and somebody's going out in more than one episode spouting stuff, then at the very least they should remove those episodes.
If someone's
maybe not cancel the person, but remove those episodes.
If so much information is causing a healthcare system to collapse, you have to do something about it. Yep. From a moral standpoint, at least I know that's my personal thing. I don't know what. Don't get me wrong. I have no solutions here. In a perfect world, we would all know that COVID is real, masks work, vaccines work. What the fuck is wrong with all you people? But we don't live in that world. The darkest timeline, which is...
just let them die.
But the problem is innocent people die. I do care. Because I do care. Because people, everyone is susceptible to being influenced, to a cult. Everyone is.
Own stupidity. Don't try. If you do, you bring down the society's level. Like, this is the opposite of natural selection.
It's the concept, and it's a concept of like drug driving. Should an innocent person die because someone else is stupid? I mean, it's more complicated in this sense because it's a virus, and we're fighting over if. I mean, fuck. These are the same. A lot of these people believe 5G is somehow infecting. I don't know. It's a brainwashing thing to me. It's people aren't thinking, and then you have people with at least in this country with the celebrity culture, someone's words mean something, and I'm not saying Joe Rogan is necessarily a bad person, because his whole thing, at least what he spouts, is we're just talking about stuff, which in itself is not necessarily a bad thing.
But he's got a responsibility too when he.
But he also has to realize millions of people follow him, and people are stupid, and I don't know we're getting into the cancellation conversation again.
Anyways, and the only one who canceled himself was, you think about it, Neil Young canceled himself, and it wasn't hypocritical, because if you read some of the lyrics to his songs, you also know about his life experience with getting polio, etc. Then he's got an emotional connection to this issue, and so he said, well, if you're going to have one or the other, fine, and he didn't back down on it, and he had himself removed.
Yeah, as far as like artists pulling their stuff, I think that's up to them. Absolutely, they can if they want.
Yeah, the narrative, the public narrative is utterly fascinating. Yeah, the pro Spotify, anti Spotify tweets and hashtags it's utterly fascinating, but also like, specifically what this topic is. We've been dealing with this for 3 years. Come on, people, let's think a little bit. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
skip the cutscene.
I don't know.
And just bringing it to the attention, hopefully deters him from continuing with misinformation.
Well, and did you guys see his response earlier
Which
today?
One?
No,
not
the
today.
one. I should have pulled it up.
Oh, actually, I guess I'm looking at. According. Go ahead. Sorry.
Essentially, he said that he realizes that he has a obligation to provide a balanced outlook, and it was something like along the lines of, he enjoys bringing on guests with alternative opinion or alternative thought processes. He understands that he needs to balance that with other voices. I think is kind of what he said. So
I am okay with that answer. But we're talking facts here. We're not talking opinions. That's the thing that's always frustrating about this type of argument. Well, some people don't believe in vaccines. Well, science says otherwise, and science is real, and I don't care what anyone says. And I think most people think that. I'm sorry. Like, it's not an opinion thing.
I had a coworker today talk to me about, science is based on like conflicting itself to prove itself over and over again. So why are we, taking this level of discourse to alternative or to questioning the science that's out there? And it's like, here's the problem: is it's not questioning the science in a scientific way. It's questioning the science in a
I don't believe in it, so
political
fuck you.
way. Yep.
And yeah, and if he brought, I don't know, it's obviously more complicated. It's as Cody said, it's purely an education thing. It's people are having a hard time seeing reality, and not that any version of reality is correct. It's just people aren't seeing one version of reality. Everybody, like, there's so many conflicting ideas, like
each person has their own reality.
Everybody has their own opinion, and then people aren't respecting others, but also they're coming at it. Some people are coming at it from bad faith, and then you're dealing with the financial aspect of this that is added, which is a factor. And honestly, that's probably what caused Joe Rogan to be like, I will do better, because probably Spotify's like, come on, bro, what the fuck?
So many of these anti-vaxxers and stuff, I can't remember, but many of them, when you look into their motivation, you usually find they got investment in something else.
Yeah, which people should, in general,
whatever.
Yeah, and people in general should be like, okay, like, interesting. Let me verify where this is coming from, because that
trust but verify.
People are stupid. Exactly.
Yep.
And on some level, I don't know. It's more complicated. We could have a whole discussion episode on.
I agree. That's probably being more balanced would have probably helped him if he had been more balanced. Yeah. If he had good guests that could counter the other arguments and vice versa, then that probably wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Right
now. We'll see what happens. It's just a developing story.
I don't think a lot of people are going to cancel. There's going to be some. There's going to be some artists leaving, but it has brought it to attention.
Brandon's here bringing us the spice.
Apparently, that's what I do lately.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah. So
that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is Spotify is making steps to at least, if not be better than other platforms, at least kind of come in line to the other platforms with the little disclaimer warnings. They did say that they've canceled more than 20,000 podcast episodes throughout the platform related to the global situation since the start of,
which I think is another reason people are frustrated, because if they could cancel TWIL over some bullshit, if we're talking bullshit, which is fair,
they didn't
we should.
Joe Rogan.
But they didn't Joe Rogan, because there's some other it's stupid. It's all dumb.
Monetary incentive.
Just be better, people. Everyone be better. Why is that so hard?
But my thought process is they're making positive changes. They're reacting to the situation as it is. I think at this point, if more artists, more groups, jump on the bandwagon or off the bandwagon, so to speak, hence the title. I really think that could actually kind of undermine the last how many ever years of really good music availability. I mean, and unfortunately what it's going to do is it's going to do kind of what all of this diverse streaming on the TV and movie side has done. All of a sudden we're seeing piracy become the norm again, because why?
Make it difficult for people. It's like Steam stopped.
Yep.
It didn't stop.
Piracy is
but
a
it
service
cut
problem.
piracy.
That is all a piracy is a service problem.
Oh, absolutely. And I think if too many artists and groups jump off of this platform, all it's going to do is invite piracy to come back in.
On the other hand, the funny thing is that Apple is and the other providers are making splash things, saying, "Oh, we have the whole Neil Young collection."
Yeah, that you can buy.
You can, or no, Apple Music you can listen to.
I mean, and then you have the aspects from
Is it streaming though?
Yeah.
Like all you can eat streaming? Oh.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
that tells you what
you also have the aspect of all of this is if if you want to support an artist, just buy, because they get more money
Oh,
that way. They don't get for a play of a stream, they get nothing. And I mean that's
they
a whole
do
nother
get
aspect too. They get,
We're starting into the
some,
discussion.
but-
we
I know,
had
but
before
the point is,
podcast,
it's all
actually.
it's all more complicated. It's all super complicated. We're talking
Oh, yeah.
major societal. Not, I don't want to say issues, but we're trying to dissect major societal interactions, and it's utterly fascinating. And again, we could probably make a podcast out of that. Maybe one day.
Copyright trolls are bad.
I'm sure we'll be on
Copyright
Spotify,
trolls.
just like where this one is. So that's
Yep.
that's also kind of interesting. Criticizing the platform that we're on some level. Why not?
One of
Fuck
the
it.
platforms. But
Technically, all of them, because we're on all the platforms in some way. So
yes.
also,
But-
yeah, leave a review.
Yes, please. Please.
We want to be in the news. That's all we're saying.
But in a good way. In a good way. No controversy.
we promise to lightly research every topic to the least of our abilities.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I guess kind of my closing thought about that is this whole thing of like being disconnected for the last 5 days and then coming back on has kind of made me wonder if as a society we've become more prone to outrage and reactionary behavior in the last 3 years, or if I've just kind of become more jaded to the way the world actually is.
The fighting words, Brandon.
I want to say it's
Oh, that could be
former.
open up
I
such a
wanna
long
say
talk.
it's the former, and I want to say it's mostly that
People
country.
I was
are
gonna
silly.
say-
People are scared.
I was-
We're dumb apes with anxiety.
I was going to
So
start
it's
to
all
say
good.
that maybe it started with the Trump era, but then I'm thinking back. No, things started to get way too politically correct. Even when it came down to comedians, having to self-censor themselves, and yeah,
You know,
It's
something
just something's just gone. It must be just a social media effect, I think.
I really think that could be part of it. I was watching, Luke and I were watching a documentary about the SR-71, which, did you know, originally its designation was to be RS-71 for Reconnaissance Strike 71. But
Really?
yes, the
Strike.
president at the time, Lyndon B. Johnson, mixed up the first letters, and rather than correcting the president of the United States, the entirety of the armed services and Lockheed just went, yep, it's the SR-71.
If you look at
I didn't even know
history,
S-
there's
I
so
didn't know
many
S
of
was strike.
there's so much
How does
shit
it
like that in
strike?
history. It's honestly all a joke. Humanity's a joke.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. Utterly fascinating.
Someday we'll have to rely on those other brain cells that play Pong. Make their decisions.
I'm hoping so. I want to see two of them play each other and see which one has the better set of brain cells.
And then watch as one gets that little squirt of dopamine, and the other one gets that little squirt of the
oh my
non-dopamine.
god.
And it's just like, I'm the winner. I lost. I lost.
Or the one
Aw,
on,
we
the
made
one,
our-
the
we
one
made
gets
our-
a little bit of THC.
I don't even care,
Oh.
bro. Put the paddle wherever you want, man.
Oh wow!
Actually, I
Life-
wonder, like, if when
That would
they
be
get
fascinating.
enough of these clusters like trained up and get a control group, which is just scary. Thanks for the nightmare fuel.
You're welcome.
I apparently needed more of that. But it would be very interesting to be like, okay, here's a control group. They all have been, these group of 20 or, whatever number. We're going to take 10 of them and continue to have them as control. These 10 we're going to have trip on THC or trip on acid or psilocybin or whatever, and see what kind of reaction changes just in these little test cell groups that only know how to play Pong, what it does for because really what you're looking at there is the actual thought process, like you said, Colton, because there's no there's theoretically, I mean, no consciousness, no higher thought, no nothing like that. So you are really looking at just a very detailed, okay, this happens when on this, these structures react this way, and the game plays this way on this substance versus the control group.
Son of a bitch, you need to work for that bio company. Holy, that's actually very interesting.
Then you can have your pet project. And I think that might be a good thing to end on. Is
it's
mad
Brandon's
scientist
future.
Dracanis.
I give drugs to brain cells in a petri dish.
I make I make
your brain cell
cells
petri
trip
dish on
balls.
Drugs. Maybe the future podcast.
All right,
boys.
well, Tim, where can we find you?
Keep it simple. It's Our Thai Journey on YouTube and Instagram, which we're not really active on. And I'll have a new video released beginning of our motorcycle touring trip. I'll have it released today.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Check that shit
YouTube.
out.
All right. Cody.
You can find me on Instagram as Zito Valder. You can find me, not really on YouTube, as Striving to Fail. And you can find me here most every week. Colton.
If we are not canceled, obviously I'm here every week. I also go by Seeker4761 on all the social medias, and I stream pretty consistently on twitch.tv/Seeker4761. I am also a contributor to the techpirate.net, where I have an article that will be coming out by the time this video and episode of TWIL is out on the Log4j, I guess, vulnerability. So stick around for that. And Brandon.
Yes. I am Brandon Vader, also known as Captain Drac or Captain Dracanis. You can find me hopefully starting to stream soon. I do have fiber finally installed. It is glorious. And that is twitch.tv/Captain Drac, I think.
So CAPT or CAPTIAN? AIN?
I think CAPT_Drac or CAPT_
It'll
Dracanis.
probably be in the notes. It'll probably be in the notes if we remember to put it there.
I will research it directly after we finish recording, and then I will make sure that it goes into the show notes, because I'm super excited to start doing that again. You can also find me on the techpirate.net, where I did an article last week, a week and a half ago, about something I've been doing wrong that you probably have too, and it is a huge time saver in both Windows 10 and 11, with pictures even. Ooh. And I am hoping to do my year review of the Surface Go here soon, because I am, spoiler alert, going to be getting rid of it out of my life. I'm probably going to that guy down there. So, yep, that's where you can find me.
That he's getting a new device.
He already has his new device.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's an Apple boy now.
Alright.
It is a good,
whatever.
good media consumption device. Anyway, thank you all for joining us on this episode of This Week I'm Learning. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, as well as on YouTube at This Week I'm Learning. For your social media peeps out there, you can find us on Twitter at ThisTwil. If you'd like to contact us, you can, of course, send an email to twil@techpirate.net. We will see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh my God, Cody, why? Why did you have to bring up the personal pleasure devices with the brain cells segment?
It was sadly right exactly where my mind went. Like, what could be the weirdest thing that this could be
that scientists
we're gonna
will
put this
make
into
for
one
sure.
of the machines.
A sentient vibrator or something.
When I think weird and I think technology, my mind immediately goes to Japan. I'm sorry, Japan, but you kind of deserve it.
We love you, Japan, but history.
This is as real of a
Gestures to
tentacle as
everything.
possible. It even has a brain in it.
Oh my god, even their porn is the weirdest too. I can't believe the amount of incest in their porn. It's disgusting. I don't get it.
Terrible.
It's harmless.
Oh.
I don't know about the tentacle thing. That's kind of like, wait. Now, when they actually make one, and you can go down a street and actually go enjoy it, then we'll talk. We'll talk Japan.
Or let's think slightly less like XXX rated, and think about like how many people in the furry community would be super happy if their tail and ears were controlled by like biomimetic stuff.
Oh, that would just add to the, I hate to say it, the slightly creepiness factor. If they actually had like separate moving tails and ears that like twitched at the right time, you'd be like, oh, is this actually a person in there? I don't know.
I'm
sure hope
imagining
so.
this on like the cutesy motorcycle helmets around here, like how the ears and stuff. Like,
Thailand is the sex change surgery mecca. Someday, somebody's going to be if it was big enough, there would be a furry. It'd be another gender.
Speaking of a third
That'd be
arm.
funny.
What?
That'd be fun.
I don't know. And canceled. Sorry, Spotify.
Yep. Demonetized.